Right. How do you think we should treat people if we ever see somebody on a
Let
wheelchair?
them be. Why do you have to treat them special?
Right.
It's like you are continuously reminding them of all of that.
Concept of inclusivity is truly practiced in public places, or is it just a trend?
I think it's just a trend right now. I don't see it much here in Gurgaon, especially with like ramps for wheelchair access and things like that.
Welcome back to Boldly Unfiltered, where we ask the questions you want to hear. This month, like every month, we venture into the community to ask taboo, sensitive, and controversial questions. And we even asked, what exactly is accessibility? Is it just a question of physical infrastructure, or is it something more? And oh boy, will the honesty of the answers really surprise you. It surprised us. So do let us know your comments and your inputs on these questions in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe.
So I want to know, when was the last time you thought about how accessible your everyday environment is to someone with a disability?
Not that recently, probably.
What do you think can be improved in terms of, providing accessibility for people, especially with disabilities who cannot do as much as, you and I maybe could do?
I feel like making it a more inclusive environment, like spreading awareness about it more, and also, having things like inclusive clubs or, like an inclusive space where people with disabilities can interact with people who are.
And have you ever used a wheelchair, cane, or other mobility aid in public? What assumptions do you think people would make about you in that scenario?
I've never used it, but if somebody uses it, people generally look at them with a lot of pity, which for certain people is fine, but there is a good chunk who would not feel okay with being felt pity about.
Right. How often do you take the time to consider how digital content like websites or apps are accessible for people who have visual, auditory, or cognitive disabilities?
I sometimes think about it. I sometimes think about that topic because a lot of people they don't have the access to such kind of content. Like people with hearing disability, they can still watch the news.
Yeah.
But yes, the content is still not as much as available for disabled people as for the normal people.
If it was in your hands, what steps would you take to make the digital world more accessible?
Actually, basically, it's not my job to. That's why I don't think as much as other things because I have some things to do. Yeah.
But on the top of your head, if you were to ever,
If I have to ever do something to create content about disabled people, then I definitely make a team. Because I'm not good at it.
right.
I'm not good at it. That's why.
Okay. How often do you notice the barriers that exist for people with disabilities in our community? And what do you as a person do about them?
Of course, we feel bad when we see them, and we often think that we wanted to help them, but we don't, because there are a lot of things are there, like frauds and everything, and people used to hear a lot about these things. That's why, we often wanted to do that, but we don't. Generally.
Yeah. Right. How do you think we should treat people if we ever see somebody on a
Let them
wheelchair?
be. Why do you have to treat them special?
Right.
It's like you are continuously reminding them of all of that.
I love that answer. Absolutely. Okay. Do you think society tends to treat accessibility as a secondary concern instead of an essential one? And if that is, then why?
They treat it as a secondary concern. They should not. As I said, you guys have to let it be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you have grown old, that's why you cannot read something. You should not do that. Just let them be, give them specs, they will read it. Give them a wheelchair, they will travel.
What do you think needs to change, in order for accessibility to be viewed as a fundamental right for everyone?
The mindset that it is like something different. The NGOs need to change. People like you need to change that. We need to give them something special. No, they don't need something special. They just need to be themselves.
Absolutely.
That's as simple as it can be.
I mean, I have a cousin who has a disability, so I mean, I have first-hand experience. I can think from his perspective, and so I know how I would treat people with disabilities, and I know I do it because I am quite close to him. So yeah, I mean, I think he's completely normal. I love him, so it's all good.
That's very good to hear.
Yeah.
Do you think the concept of inclusivity is truly practiced in public spaces, or do you think it's just a trend?
I think it's just a trend.
And why is that? Why do you think it's just a trend?
Exclusivity, I think people are not actually much into exclusivity. They are more private, I believe. That's why it's not exclusivity.
Okay. All right. So, what changes would need to happen for inclusivity to be practiced more authentically in our community?
I think we are all humans, but then again, it's more of a privacy, because you're like, people won't spare much time like us right now, because they're not hearing, actually they're not much very interested in these things, to be honest, and they seems to be more into socializing, or if they are just into Instagram or Facebook things, right? So I think in person they are not very much exclusive right now.
Right.
They are more into private thing. Yeah.
Right.
I feel like it's just a trend.
Yeah,
Okay.
I also feel like it's more of just a trend thing to show, kind of like showcase that it's happening, but it's really not.
Right. So, if it was up to you guys, what do you think you would do or make changes in in the places that you visit often that would help people, help the place be more accessible for people?
I feel like, if someone with a disability crosses you, most people would just look at them as if they're not normal, or look at them as if they make it evident that they have some sort of issue. So I feel like the more we, stop making them feel as if they're aliens, or the more we stop, treating them as outcasts, and when crossing them, just act normal. I think that's a good way.
I think it's just a trend right now. I don't see it much here in Gurgaon, especially with like ramps for wheelchair access and things like that.
What changes do you think should happen in order to make it more of a social a priority? I'd say.
Yeah, I think just having those features like ramps or disabled washrooms, things like that.
Right. If you had to navigate your life with a disability for a day, what parts of your routine would become difficult or impossible?
Quite a few, I think. Mainly would be just accessing places. Like there are a lot of stairs, sidewalks, so that would be a big deal there.
If you've seen a specific barrier recently, for example, not having a ramp next to the staircase to a place, how did it impact the person affected? And did you take any action?
We don't often take actions, because again, it is kind of a thing like privacy thing, and we see that we don't do that. We think that we felt guilty also, not for not doing it, but then again, it's the same thing for like privacy.
Right.
We see that, but we don't often do that. Yeah.
Do you think that should change a little bit as people?
Change, but then see, it's more of a mentality thing in India.
Absolutely.
And that's why we often do not want to help. But there are very rare people in this country who are actually doing it, and I think I appreciate what they are doing.
Right. Do you think we should sympathize with people, or should we treat them just as we treat any other person?
See, they don't have full, they are not perfect, so we have to treat them separately. We have to treat them special. We have to take care of them because they are not, because they have disabilities. So we do have to see a lot of
Right.
about them.
Right.
After spending 9 years outside, let's say USA, Canada, or any other country like UK, the infrastructure is very, very, it's inclusive for
Yeah.
these disabled people, right? Whereas like after coming here in India, I see like, the transportation is not meant for them, right? Let's say, for example, you're going for any kind of restaurant or something, right? They are not they are not including these disabled people, like specifically for the wheelchair, for like people who are blind or blind by color and all those things. So, which I think like that should be there. It's a government responsibility to build that kind of infrastructure. See, because like disability is not just about like physical disability. Like people are getting old as well, right?
Yeah.
So we need things for them as well, right? So that's a 2 cents which I really want to add on to that. That's it.
If you don't mind, I have a follow-up question. So this is, as you said, this should be a government job, and I agree with you 100%. This should be present everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But as people, as individuals, do you think we are making enough effort for these people to feel included? Or do you think that we somehow unintentionally maybe tend to ignore and, let them be on their own? And if that's the case, what do you think we should do?
See, it's a very contradict thing you're asking me. It depends on person to person. Let's say, for example, if all educated people like who know what the disability is and how to cope up with these things and these issues, those people, they are feeling it's their responsibility, to make them include. But for any other person, maybe they are not, like it's not very inclusive, and people are not taking that responsibility as a whole to just feel them one of their own.
Yeah.
Right. So that's something, it depends on everyone, it's not a very generic question.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to answer as a whole.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Correct.
Right. So pretty much that's it. Thanks, guys.